Hey, what's up guys? Bucky here. And this is one of my favorite things to do is just to talk about, the different lessons that I've learned throughout my life. And one of the questions that I have today is how do I accelerate my life? So many of us are living in different situations where we're struggling, whether we're struggling with work or struggling with relationships. And how do we accelerate our lives? And I think for me, what came up for me, there was when I was in college, I was living up on the North Shore of Hawaii and I had a long-term girlfriend at the time. And I remember being in a relationship and being so wrapped up in the relationship that I really lost myself, and I was feeling lost. I was feeling disconnected, and it doesn't have to be a relationship with a girlfriend or a relationship with a boyfriend or a husband. We find ourselves lost in lots of situations, whether it's in a family dynamic or whether that's in a working or career situation or whether that's just not being congruent with who we are. And I think when we say that word lost, what we mean is that we don't feel connected. And there's a lot of ways to get connected, right? One is to get in touch with who you are. The other one is to get really in touch with where you came from. So one of the things that I teach at all my programs are human rituals, culture. And I think as Westerners, that's something that we miss. Something that I've learned about life and something that I've learned about human beings in all the traveling I've done through Southeast Asia and South America, different parts of Australia, is that culture is really the ritual of life. It really is what roots people and grounds people into who they are. And as Western people, especially North Americans, we forget that. Our culture is commerce. Our culture is business. And we forget about the simple things that bring us back into who we are and ground us to feel congruent in how we move forward. So that's a big part of the teaching that I do. But how do we accelerate our lives, right? If we find ourselves in a place of stuckness, I think one of the biggest things is to create a shift. And in identifying, first of all, you've done the first part. If you're listening to this video, you've done the first part, which is identifying that you're stuck. The second part is to look for mentorship, look for coaching, look for advice. And the third part is to take immediate action. What are the things that I can do right away? How can I interrupt my pattern of life? We are all creatures of habit. We are all creatures of patterns, and we continuously create patterns in our lives that either support us or take away from who we are. And the identification of those patterns is extremely important. And then the ability then to shift that pattern or to break the pattern. So going back to my story of the girlfriend, one of the things that I did after I ended that relationship was I started to do things that I normally would never do. I started to break up my routine. I would go down to the beach on the North Shore. I remember going down to Aukai or going down to Sunset Beach and just hitchhiking a ride, right? That's something I would never do back then, was hitchhike a ride down the hill. I was living up at Pupukea at the time. Hitchhike a ride down the mountain and just sit on the beach all day. And I just wait for what was going to show up. And I would give my life in that time. What I was doing is I was giving my life to God. I was giving my life to Spirit. And I said, hey, whatever shows up, I'm going to interact with that, because in that newness, in that new routine, in that new pattern is where I get to actually see a true reflection of who I am. So regardless of where you're at, the invitation is to break the pattern, do something different, find a new perspective, find a new avenues, find a new approach to whatever you're doing, whether it's in your relationship with your intimate partner, in your relationship with your family, or at work. Just do something different. And it doesn't mean you have to quit your job or you have to leave your family or need to get a divorce. It looks like maybe just doing things a little bit differently and answering the calls that are true for you, because all of us have that intuitive sense of who we are. All of us have something that's speaking to us, and it's just about the courage to be ourselves and the courage to be our truth and the willingness to do something different. So again, 3 steps in order to accelerate your life. Identify the problem. What are the things that I'm feeling stuck in? What are the things that I'm being lost in? Number 2 is to get a coach or a mentor, or to find a sense of curriculum that's going to move you into a new perspective. And 3 is to take immediate action and to break the pattern. Wishing you guys the best in who you are. Continue to have the courage to be you, and we'll see you next time.